There are games where you look at it and you watch it as a fan. If you sat back, relaxed, had your favorite libation, it's the holiday season, there are games that get coaches fired. There are performances that get coaches fired. And yesterday's performance against the New England Patriots, in which the Jets allowed, Drake Maye to go 11 for 11 to begin the game, where they scored 5 touchdowns on their 5 offensive possessions in the first half, where he had Mike Vrabel using a timeout with 19 seconds to go, leading the game 35-3, and basically telling his team on the sideline, blank them. And everyone laughing and mocking out the New York Jets on that Patriots sideline. There are games to make the Jets go out there and run one more offensive play. And I understand there are Jet fans that are upset. Here's the deal. Do something about it. And I don't mean a fight. I don't mean an altercation. I mean, provide a little bit of pushback. Where was a little sense of pride yesterday? There was none. I mean, Aaron Glenn can tell you after the game all he wants that we've improved. There are things that you might not be able to see. It's all nonsense where the Jets have improved. What? Have you improved where? Where exactly have you improved? You've not been as leaky of a ship as you've been the last 2 years. What? Woody Johnson's not as hands-on as he was the last 2 years. What? You're going to give me a good quote in one of these press conferences? What? You fired Steve Wilkes? Where exactly is the improvement? Where is the tangible improvement? Because the Jets were not just bad in the month of December. They were historically bad. They lost to the Dolphins 34-10. They lost to the Jaguars 48-20. They were non-competitive against Tyler Shuck and the New Orleans Saints down in the Bayou. They lost that game 29-6. And then yesterday they lose to the Patriots 42-10. Now you might say, well, the Patriots are a good football team. Well, yeah, I agree with you. Can I ask you this? Why does it look different for other places? Why exactly do I look across the landscape of the National Football League yesterday and I see the Pittsburgh Steelers, who basically could cement home a playoff spot? Now, you might say divisional game. Okay, so is this against New England. Divisional game. Browns were home. So were the New York Jets. The Browns, with little to no offense whatsoever, go out there, stymie Aaron Rodgers with that defense. Myles Garrett, fantastic. The Steelers basically wanted to prevent Garrett from getting that sack record. Who won the game? The Browns. And Stefanski might be a dead coach walking. How about the Saints? You want to bring up another example, who the Jets lost to a couple weeks ago by 23. How about the New Orleans Saints with Tyler Shuck? You know what? Yesterday, down in Tennessee, coming back in the second half, they win the game by 8. Shuck goes out there, throws for 340 yards. The Saints have played well. They beat Carolina on a couple occasions. They went down to Tampa and beat Baker and the Bucs. And I understand that might not mean anything right now because, the Buccaneers have lost 7 of their last 8 games after starting the season 6-2. But you're seeing life from the New Orleans Saints. Even the Tennessee Titans, who fired their head coach months ago. The Tennessee Titans a week and a half ago went out there and beat the Kansas City Chiefs and then played a quality football game yesterday against New Orleans. You're seeing signs of life, a little sign of progression. You get none of that, none of it from the New York Jets. And that is the frustrating aspect. And then you get from Glenn yesterday after the game, well, you know what? I'm not going to go out there and blame the rookie quarterback. You're really going to blame Cook? Because the lack of offense? I mean, that's what you're going to lean into. You guys, this is the Mensa meeting that decided to build the quarterback room, that decided to build the quarterback room the way that you did. This is, when you look at Mougie and Glenn, they're the ones that looked at Justin Fields and said, yes, let's lean into him. The only quarterback in that room that can play is Taylor, and he can't stay healthy. Cook is non-competitive. And then you want to tell me, after you bench Justin Fields, that you're going to start Tyrod Taylor because you want to learn. This was what was leaked out of Florham Park. Want to learn about everything else going on with the team so we can evaluate the rest of the team. The team stinks. And the funny aspect of it is that the comparisons to the Lions and Dan Campbell is this. Glenn was not handed a roster that stunk. There is talent on this team. And yesterday, the Jets got absolutely and thoroughly embarrassed. There was no pushback. There was no pride. There was nothing. They allowed the New England Patriots to come in, and I was dead wrong. I did the show yesterday morning. I said this would be the prototypical spot where Belichick was coaching the New England Patriots. You know, he would absolutely leave no doubt. He would want to thoroughly and completely and utterly embarrass the New York Jets. I thought maybe Vrabel would take the foot off the gas, and he did in the second half. I mean, took Maye out of the game as he runs to the sideline with chants of MVP from the large Patriot faithful that packed MetLife Stadium on a chilly Sunday. And I don't blame the Jet fan for getting rid of their tickets. I mean, who wants to watch this slop? But I was wrong about that. Vrabel called that timeout in the second half and in the end of the first half and mocking the New York Jets. You know what? That should make you angry. That should make you ticked off. I don't want to hear about in the second half that they scored points against Jacksonville. Who cares? That is window dressing. Or that Breece Hall went over 1,000 yards before he suffered a knee injury. Who cares? Good for him. Dealing with this mess that is this coaching staff. And I was dead wrong. Listen, I thought it couldn't be worse than what you saw with Saleh. And Saleh's teams underperformed. And it was a constant nonsense and drama and the leaks coming out of Florham Park. But you watch this product. I asked Glenn, get specific. There should have been a follow-up yesterday when he talks about things that you're not seeing that we're improving on. Hey, Aaron, look, can I give it? Where? Where exactly is the improvement? What exactly is going well for this team right now? You lost games to a historically bad way in the month of December. No other team in the history of the NFL ever. And then you had a rival come into your last home game. Yesterday afternoon at MetLife Stadium, your last home game, and your team looked like they wanted no part of it. And then I got to get after the game. Well, this was the first game this year. For a team that's 3-13, this is the first game this year where I was concerned about the effort, and we have to look into it. What are you looking into? The majority of the players basically can't wait to get out of here. Can't wait to go hit whether it be the beach, Bahamas, Bermuda, whatever it might be. Maybe they're going on a European vacation. And I've said all along, listen, you got to give Glenn a second year. And I like the whole idea of, where, the Parcells outgrow kind of that old school mentality, got to be heavy-handed, got to be the adult in the room. But where are the answers? Talking to former players all the time, they will follow a head coach as long as they believe that head coach has the answers. Let me ask you this question. As you listen to the sound of my voice on this Monday midday, do you think Glenn has the answers? Do you think he knows what questions need to be asked? Do you think he's going to do the self-evaluation during the course of the offseason? Now you might say, well, listen, Mark, Jets don't have a quarterback. They chose Justin Fields. That was football acumen at its worst. They looked at Justin Fields and said, you know what? He's going to be our Jared Goff. Nonsense. Goff went to a Super Bowl with the Rams. Was terrible in the game, but went to a Super Bowl. I mean, it just, let it make sense. At some point in time, make it make sense. Nico, play the cut. Let me hear Glenn talking about, Woody Johnson and, being upfront and honest with the Jets owner. Let's hear.
Woody knows just as well as him. I'm not going to BS him about anything at all. I think that's the one good thing about our relationship is we always want to be straightforward with each other. And the number one thing is we got to get better. And I think that's obvious. We have to get better.
Yeah, well, no doubt. I mean, Aaron, you're 3-13. I mean, you got to get better. And you can't continue to go back to the Detroit example. You just can't. You can't go out. You can't continue to tell me and preach to me about Detroit and where they were, the foundation. And, listen to Aaron Glenn yesterday. He's like, the guys know the foundation that we're building. What are you building? Where? Like, honestly, explain it to me like I'm in kindergarten. Exactly what are you building? Where are we going? Where's the improvement? He talks about the improvement. Well, you might not be able to see it. Well, then where are you improving? The film room work? Where are you improving? You putting together nice meetings? Where are you improving? Everybody's getting along down in Florida Park. There's no drama. Where are you improving? Because in the NFL, it is about wins and it is about losses. That is what it's about. That is what you're judged on each and every week. And you watched yesterday afternoon a division rival that has historically, after Bill Belichick decided to step down as HC of the NYJ after hopping out off that treadmill and go up and join up with Kraft. And then they brought in Brady, and they got dynastic up there in Foxborough. You have watched the Patriots go out of their way, for the most part, completely and utterly embarrass the New York Jets at every chance they can. And yesterday, they mocked you. Vrabel mocked you. Now, you might say a little bit of a bully, shouldn't have called that timeout, got to be classy. Nonsense. Now, what are you going to do about it? Where's the pushback? Where's the pride? There was no effort yesterday. There hasn't been effort in weeks. You want to tell me that the Jets gave you a great effort down in New Orleans against the Saints when they lost by 23? What about against Jacksonville where they lost by 28? What about the performance against Miami? I mean, the outlier is, amazingly enough, they beat the Atlanta Falcons. But that team is so poorly coached, just like you. And I'm not one, I've said it before, I'm not one that where I was like, you got to go out there. And it is the holiday season. Nobody wants to lose jobs. Trust me, I know. Right? But here's the deal. I'm not telling you that Glenn, there is no, I can't sit here and make an argument, kick it off the airwaves on this Monday midday right here on WFAN and say, bing, bang, boom, this is why Aaron Glenn deserves year number 2. There's not an argument to be made. There's not an argument to be made. Former player, gets the organization, wanted the job. I get it. Paid his dues, learned under the guise and the guidance of Parcells and Grow, all of these things. I remember sitting there when he got introduced, listening as, there was one former Jet after another in the building. When we take the field, you're going to know what Jet football is all about. What exactly is that? Being a doormat for the Pats? A doormat for the Saints? A doormat for the Miami Dolphins and Liam Cohen and the Jaguars? Why do I see improvement in other spots? I even see improvement. I mean, Tennessee's looking for a long-term head coach. You got McCoy down there. They got Cam Ward. And you might say, well, the quarterback room stinks. Well, listen, they've made the decisions. And it is on you as a staff to put together a game plan. Glenn even had the goal yesterday to say the game plan was solid. Really? You lost by 32. Drake Maye didn't throw an incomplete pass until basically the minute 44 mark of the second quarter. He started the game 11 for 11. He threw 2 incompletions the entire game. They're raining down MVP chants at MetLife, and that is your home. There's no argument. Now, do I think he's going to come back? I do. Do I think it's going to look decidedly different next year? I do not. What would lead you to believe that it does? Well, you want to say, well, maybe they get a franchise-changing quarterback. The question you have is, do you trust this staff? And I never thought we'd have this. Listen, when Glenn got hired, I said, well, he can't be worse than Saleh. Saleh's an unbelievable defensive coordinator. Right? But he was a terrible head coach. Wanted to be friends with everybody, wanted to be likable, didn't want to, create any kind of issues with the team and this and that. Rodgers could do no wrong. All the stuff that we talked about with Saleh at the time, right? But I didn't think anyone could be worse than Saleh. And then Aaron Glenn steps into the building. And I rooted for him. I have. I've said it time and time again, but I can't make a tangible argument, an educated argument. I can't come and give you some hot take on this Monday and say, well, this is why Glenn deserves more time, because he's earned it, based on what we've witnessed this year. When I watched other teams improve, I mean, even the Browns yesterday that have got nothing to play for, divisional game, outside of Garrett getting the sack record, right? Outside of that, Stefanski, dead coach walking for all intents and purposes. And they go out there and beat the Steelers, where the Steelers, if they get a win, they're in the playoffs and eliminate Harbaugh, Lamar, and the Baltimore Ravens. The Saints with Moore have showed you a pulse. The Jets are basically dead on arrival. What am I supposed to go goo goo gaga over Hall getting 1,000 yards rushing? And I like Breece Hall. I do. I feel bad for him. Got to be beaten down by the losing. As was Quinnen Williams, as was Sauce Gardner. Where are the answers? As we get set to ring in the new year, the Patriots yesterday, who are not going anywhere, because Vrabel has got a clue, and he is a true culture changer, and they've got a franchise quarterback in year 2 in May. But the Patriots yesterday went into your building, packed with Pat fans. Now, does Woody care about that? No, he just wants to sell the tickets. By the way, the soccer coach missed the kick. But the Jets can't even get out of their own way with that one. But the Patriots stepped into that building yesterday, not only embarrassed you, but they mocked you doing it. It's great that Glenn's honest and open with Woody Johnson. What else you got to say? Hey, Woody, listen. It hasn't gone our way year number 1. It'll look decidedly different year 2. Trust me. In order to have trust, you got to show some sort of a pathway, show some sort of a sign of life, some sort of a sign of improvement. And you know what the Jets were in the month of December, as we got 1 game left to go? Historically bad. Not bad, historically bad. Take flight. 10:19. Malusis with you. 888-808-1019. You kick it off a little Jet football. I mean, that was as bad as it gets. It really was yesterday afternoon out at MetLife. We'll get into the Giants. We're rolling right up until 2. Plenty of your calls. It's a Malusis Monday right here, the Fan in New York.